Okay, so good morning. If you're watching this, that means you chose to try to solve these equations on your own with just a little bit of video help. So I'm going to show you guys a few examples. So in solving equations, remember we always want to isolate that variable. So what that means is we try to get everything away from that variable so that we end up getting x equals to a number. So when I look at this, I have 3x plus 18 equals negative 39. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to get this 3x by itself first, which means I need to move this 18. So it's 3x plus 18. And when we're solving these, we have to use that opposite operation, meaning I'm going to need to subtract 18 from both sides. And why I would be subtracting is because I want to remove the 18 from that left-hand side and move it over across that equal sign to the right-hand side. So I'd bring down my 3x. Negative 39 minus 18 is negative 57. And then if you look, so this would be, I would be subtracting in this step. And in this next step, the 3 is being held together to this x. I could rewrite it as 3 times x equals negative 57. Then what I need to do is, again, that opposite operation. Well, if it's being held together by multiplication, I'm going to divide. So I would divide both sides by 3. So x would equal, give me 1 second here, let me pull up my calculator. 57 divided by negative 3. We'd have, oops, forgot my negative sign, we'd have negative 19. So I'd end up with negative 19 for x. All right, so moving right along, what is the value of y? So again, I'm trying to isolate that y right there. So my first thing that I'm going to need to do is, again, use that opposite operation. I want to move everything away from that y. So I'm going to start here with this positive 12. So remember, I need to use that opposite operation, which means I'm going to subtract that 12 from both sides. Now, you might not always be subtracting first. If it was minus 12, I would be actually adding 12 to both sides. So this now is gone. So I have y over 6 equals 10 minus 12 is negative 2. I can then rewrite this. Y over 6 is the same thing as 1/6 times y equals negative 2. So you don't necessarily need that to solve this, but if you'd like to, you can rewrite it like that if that makes it easier. So what's happening here? Well, what's happening is y is being divided by 6. So again, that opposite operation, well, the opposite of the opposite of division is multiplication. So in this example, I'll actually be multiplying by 6 on both sides. So when I multiply by 6, now this is eliminated, and y equals negative 12. Awesome. So moving on to our last example. So in our last example, we have to remember this property of distributing. We must distribute. So in this example, the first thing that you always have to do is, if you see distribution, you must do it. So my first step essentially is going to be to distribute. So when I distribute, remember, I'm doing the 3 times the g, the 3 times the negative 7. So 3 times g minus 3 times negative 7 is negative 21, plus g equals 3. Now what I need to do is actually look for any like terms, because I have a lot of things going on this left side. I have a 3g here and a plus g there. And those are my like terms. So what I need to do next is actually combine them. So when I combine these like terms, 3g plus g would give me 4g minus 21 equals 3. And now we're back to those opposite operations. So I've distributed, I've combined like terms, and now what I'm going to do is what we did in those last two slides, start using those opposite operations. So I'm going to go ahead and say, well, 4g minus 21 equals 3. I'm solving for that g, so I need to add this 21 to both sides. Remember, I remove it from that left side and I'm adding it over to this right side. 3 plus 21 gives me 24. And that last step, so let me go ahead and write this here. So I added 21. That last step would be to go ahead and isolate g. And remember, I could rewrite this as 4 times g equals 24. So that last step would be to divide both sides by 4. So g would equal 24 divided by 4, which is 6. All right, y'all, I hope that helped a little bit. Save this video so you can watch it if you need any additional assistance.